Hi there, my name is Margit Bannon, and I would like to welcome you to day 7 of the Yoga for Breathing Challenge. If you haven't seen the rest of the challenge, days 1 through 6, please check out my channel, Play Tennis Practice Yoga, where I've created a playlist specifically for this challenge that can be reviewed at any time at your convenience. For those of you returning, congratulations, you've made it to the last day. I hope that you found these videos helpful, and please let me know your feedback in the comments and continue with your Yoga for Tennis practice with me on this channel where I release videos every Tuesday afternoon for Yoga for Tennis Tuesdays. Please also subscribe to the channel to follow along and be a part of our Yoga for Tennis community. So today we're going to wrap up all of the things that we've worked on in the challenge. We're going to wrap it up in a short yoga practice. And I'll tie in some real life examples with some examples on court after the yoga practice just for you to watch and see myself and a friend of mine, Rich Verncy, breathing on court. And after this, it's really up to you to continue your practice on your own. You can practice these videos until you feel comfortable as you develop your own style of breathing on court. Remember that the most important thing is that you're aware of your breath. Even that will go a long way as you start to deepen the mind-body connection and as you start to take your tennis to the next level. So the props needed today are just something comfortable to sit on. I'm seated on a yoga bolster and blanket, and I also have a yoga block. So if you have one of these available, grab one of these. But you could also use a couple of thick pillows or blankets as well in lieu of the block. Everything else will be just doing on the ground. And with that said, let's go ahead and begin our short yoga practice today. So we'll start off seated for our centering practice. We'll make our way onto our back and we'll end up right where we started. So as you come to sit, whether you're seated on some props on the ground or even in a chair, the most important thing is that you feel your sit bones grounded beneath you. Our sit bones essentially become our feet while seated. That's our heaviest point of contact to the ground, and that helps us feel a little more present for our practice. So start to feel the grounding of your sit bones, relax your hands on your legs, and come to close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. Otherwise, you might find something to focus on directly in front of you. And as you start to feel the grounding of your hips, feel the heaviness of your legs. Maybe start to notice where else your feet meet the ground. So if you're seated with crossed legs as I am, it might be the outer edges of the feet. It might be your outer ankles. If you're seated in a chair, it might be the soles of your feet that you're a little more connected with. In either way, as you start to feel a little more grounding through your lower half, that's your base. Start to feel a little more of a lift from your tail through the crown of your head. And so just get an overall sense of how your body is feeling physically today in this space. It might be different from what you noticed the last time you practiced. It might be different from what you expected. It might be different from what you want to be feeling. You notice all of these things. This is all part of the yoga practice. Yoga practice is about getting to learn what your body, what your mind needs. And now that you're a little more aware of what's happening in the body, I want you to notice your breath, again, without changing a thing, just as we've been practicing all along as a base for all other breath practices. Become aware of your natural breath by observing where you can feel the breath in your body. It might be your belly, your chest. It might be somewhere else that I'm not mentioning. You might observe that your breath has a sound. You might observe differences in comfort and sensation with regards to inhalations and exhalations. Maybe it's really obvious that one breath is naturally longer than the other. So we notice all of these things almost as if we're making little mental notes without expanding on the notes. Observing what our base breath is for today, for this practice. And now that you've noticed that, you can go ahead and gently open your eyes, maybe get used to the lighting in the room that you're in. And we're going to slowly make our way onto our back. So I'm just going to slide off of the support that I'm seated on. As we come onto our backs, you may or may not choose to bring the support of a blanket beneath your head. Notice that I'm folding this very thinly. We're going to be doing a little bit of bridging at some point where you would want less support beneath your head. There are exceptions to this. So I have a thin folded blanket. You could go higher, but you might remove it in a little bit when I suggest that we do so. I have my block or my thick pillow or another thick blanket handy, and I'm going to slowly come onto my back. So now there's more of you grounded on your mat. So just take a moment to feel what it's like to be on the ground. Maybe it's a nice relief. Maybe you feel a bit more supported from when being seated. I know that it took me a while to find comfort sitting on the ground when I first started practicing yoga. And so now I can feel the soles of my feet. I can feel the heaviness of my hips. I can notice where my spine meets the ground, along with the back of my head, my shoulder blades, the backs of my arms, and my hands. One more time, come to observe natural breath. Does it feel the same or different now that you're in a different position? Some say that it's a little easier to feel the breath on the back. See if that's true for you. And now I want you to recall the breath practice that we did on day 2 called straw breathing, where you inhaled through the nose and exhaled through the mouth gently. See if you can take a couple of breaths in that manner. So if you'll remember, in this breath practice, we focused on the exhalations so that the inhalation would easily come, inhaling through the nose, exhaling gently through the mouth. A couple more rounds to set this type of breath. See if you can allow it to feel good. And much like we would during the actual hitting of our strokes, we're going to start to synchronize some movement to our breath. So let's go ahead and bring the arms down at the sides, palms down if they're not already there. As you next inhale, come to reach your arms up overhead. And as you exhale, exhale through the mouth as you gently draw that right knee in towards the chest with the hands. Inhale, lower the right foot down as you reach your arms up overhead. No need to touch the ground behind you. Exhaling through the mouth, draw the left knee in towards the chest with the hands. Let's try this 2 more times on each side. See if you can start to follow the rhythm of your own breath rather than my initial call. When you're done with that third round, inhale, reach the arms up overhead one more time. Exhale, hug both knees in towards the chest with the hands no longer moving. Hug the knees into comfort. So it could be closer into the chest or further away. You could even hug underneath the knees if that felt better for your knees. And much like we would do in between points, now see if you can balance your breath out a little bit more. Could be inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth as you've been doing. Or you might even opt to breathe in and out through the nose alone, maybe tapping into that ocean-like breath that we talked about a little earlier in the challenge. So we called it the ocean breath because of the sound that it makes as the breath washes over the vocal cords a bit more. And now go ahead and lower your feet down to the mat. So let's try a little more movement with breath in a dynamic bridge pose. So this might be where you remove your propping. It'll just be a little safer for your neck in this pose. Bring the arms down at your sides. I'm going to ground down at my feet, which should be about 4 to 5 inches away from the hips, and my feet are about hips width apart. I'm also grounding down into my palms, into my upper arms, even through the back of my head. So I might intentionally engage the backs of my thighs a little bit more. And as I next inhale, I'm going to lift my hips up and away from the mat. And as I exhale, I'm going to exhale through the mouth again as I lower my hips down. Inhale, see if you can allow that inhale to naturally occur as the hips rise up. Exhale as you lower the hips. Again, start to find your own breath rhythm with this. Let's try this for about 3 more rounds on your own. On the last one, why don't we hold it? So now we'll breathe in and out, maybe even observing the challenge of the pose, just as we observe challenges on court in these breaks between movement. And then again, we'll lower the hips down. We'll hug the knees in towards the chest with the hands. Again, perhaps evening that breath out. And at the very least, becoming aware of the breath. Maybe you notice that you were holding your breath. Maybe you forgot about the breath altogether. And then lower the feet down towards the mat. So this is where I'd like you to find that block. Hopefully it's not too far away. So I'm going to take my trusty block. You could do this on various heights. If you're new to supported bridge pose, I would suggest the lowest height. And so I'm going to lift my hips up just like you did previously, but this time I want to bring the block beneath my hips. So you're hoping to allow your pelvis to be in a more neutral position now, where you're neither tilting your tailbone forward or towards you. It should feel like two flat surfaces are being pressed towards one another. So as you find the balance of your hips, have a gentle grounding in through your feet. If possible, open your palms towards the ceiling or the sky a little bit more now. And in this pose, there's no movement. This might be the part of the challenge for you, but we come to the breath. So what I'd like you to do is observe your breath. See if you can start to breathe in and out through your nose a little bit more now, and perhaps even evening the breath out, if not, just do the best that you can. Maybe making your way back to that ocean-like sound in your breath, or maybe just balancing out length of inhalations versus length of exhalations. And then we'll transition into our prolonged exhalation, just as we practiced previously through the challenge in order to induce relaxation. So I want you to start to pay attention to your exhalations a little bit more. Can you allow your exhalations to grow longer than your inhalations now? eventually so that the exhalations end up being twice as long as the inhalations. Start to notice how the body and the mind respond. We're doing this in an abbreviated fashion today, but know that you could practice this breath in this position in another restorative pose for longer periods of time, working towards that relaxation response. So let's take 3 more complete breaths in this manner. And then let's go ahead and lift our hips up and away from our prop. Let's move it off to the side. Maybe you hug the knees in towards the chest and rock side to side a little bit, massaging the low back. And then allow your feet to come to the ground. You could also add that blanket back beneath your head if you found that helpful a little earlier. So now let go of controlling your breath. We're going to come back to that meditative technique in the mental alternate nostril breath that we practiced on day number 6. So as you next inhale, imagine that you're inhaling through your left nostril alone. As you exhale, feel that you're exhaling through your right nostril alone. Inhale through the right nostril alone, and as you exhale, feel that you're exhaling through the left nostril alone. Inhale through the left nostril. Exhale through your right nostril. Inhale through your right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. See if you can do this for 3 more rounds on your own. Just further deepening our ability to focus and concentrate. Great practice for any time you feel that you need to balance yourself out physically, mentally, emotionally. Great practice to do before you step out on court or as a start to your day, especially if you've been wanting to start a meditation practice or perhaps to deepen your current meditation practice. And so when you're done with that next exhalation, let go of controlling the breath. Again, come back to just becoming aware of your breath. And from here, we'll come into a relaxation pose, almost like we're tying it all in from the whole challenge. Now we get to take that nice relaxation. So you can extend your legs one at a time. Let the feet be a little wider than the hips. Know that you can also take your bolster, your pillow, and place that beneath the knees if that feels more comfortable for your lower back. It would feel like you're able to relax more of your low back in towards the mat. And so briefly here for today, come to close your eyes again. Notice where body meets the ground beneath the heels, the calves, the backs of the thighs and the hips. And again, notice the curves of your spine, where it does and doesn't meet the ground from the lower back to the upper back. And finally, the back of the head. And then move from the back of the head into the shoulder blades, the backs of the arms and the hands. And as you find more balance through the body, allow yourself to commit to stillness in these last few moments. And as you Feel your natural breath without any control now, back in that breath awareness mode. Allow your breath to be the anchor each time your mind wants to run away. So this is a great practice in how we can remind ourselves on court that the breath can be our anchor because it's something that's always with us. And so you're just with the waves of the breath in and out of the body. As your mind strays, you invite yourself back. You might have to do that over and over again. And so we could do this for longer, but for today, we'll keep it short. So now wiggle your fingers and your toes. Allow your knees to bend as your feet return to the mat. And let's go ahead and roll over onto one side. And then we'll press ourselves up. So let's come to sit comfortably for these last few moments. So I'll come to support beneath my hips once again. I'll feel my sit bones one more time as I sit up a little bit taller. And so thank you so much for practicing this challenge with me. Don't turn the video off yet. I still have an example, actually two examples of some breathing on court by myself and my buddy Rich. So stay tuned to watch that. But thanks for practicing with me. I would love to hear from you on what your experience has been throughout this entire challenge or the practices that you engaged with. And please subscribe to my channel to keep up with Yoga for Tennis Tuesdays. So thanks again. Hope to see you very soon. Happy practicing, and check out the on-court examples of breathing coming up right now. Hot.